So, this is my first video. Never done one of these before, and I have a lot to kind of say, and I want to really get some things off my chest. I feel like this is going to be I feel this is going to be very important to a lot of people, mainly for myself, because it's just kind of like a journal, but more through video log. But also, I want to help and teach people through my own experiences and just kind of what I know. But how I wanted to kind of start this off was just kind of starting off where I'm at right now and how I got to this kind of point in my life. Things have been really hard for some of you that do know about what's going on, but for those who don't know, this is where I'm going to start telling my story. I feel appalled by all the things I've been kind of going through up to this point, and I'm talking about way back in my past too. I'm not living in my past, but it's really changed how I think and compared to, I guess, others. And it comes from a lot of my military background too. For those who don't know, I was a Marine for 10 years, did 3 tours of Iraq, and I'm just so overwhelmed on how I'm supposed to be as a person now that I'm out. And I feel like I've seen myself in more trouble than I've ever seen myself in. Yet I feel like I haven't changed much other than my mental health. And I'm still being looked at as a criminal, a bad person, I'm evil. I've been called all kinds of things, not that it bothers me, like mentally, like where I'm actually letting it conflict the way I think, but it just hurts my feelings that people really feel this way instead of trying to better each other. So let me just start this. I really wanted to start with kind of how I'm feeling right now. I always say I'm okay. I mean, which I kind of am right now. There's days where I'm really not. But I'm very heartbroken. I don't even know how to describe how broken I am inside from the way our legal system, my school at Colorado State University treat me, to 2 different homes I've lived at, rented an apartment, and they just kick me out whenever I complain too much instead of solving a problem. Those are just the little things. I'm even dealing with a friend I was staying with when I got kicked out of my townhome just recently in October, and I had to go live with him. He made my mental health so much worse because of everything he's also going through, and he's still living in his past, and he doesn't want to change. And it was so poisonous to the fact that I started changing back to my old habits. I picked up on that, and I knew I had to get out of that situation. So today I'm living in a hotel. I'm living in a hotel, not just staying for a couple days. I'm living here now, period. I'm not angry. It sucks. But then I always tell myself it could have been worse, which I have been through worse. It's not fair to say because I deserve better. But I have to humble myself in order to push forward, because if I'm dwelling on all this, that's when my demons start to get the best of me. So what I've been going through as far as my hardships, I'm going to start with school, which was the Colorado State University. I got suspended back in 2020 towards the end, when that was during the pandemic, and I had some people that moved in above me. It's a 3-story apartment building. Moved in above me, some young kids, fine, whatever. But they were keeping me awake almost every single night for 3 months. And I complained to the point I was calling police religiously, telling the apartment manager, telling the property manager, and then also telling the neighbors themselves, and then complaining to other neighbors to say, please help me out. Nobody would step up and defend me, even though they knew this was happening. They didn't want to get involved. Which kind of goes back to the kind of person I am. If anything I saw was wrong, I would step up and help the person, no matter what it was, even if it wasn't even my situation. I just been through so much, I know. But anyways, because Later, when I complained to the neighbors one more time, they called the police and said I broke into their house and assaulted them and burglarized everything, meaning like I took things. There was no proof. And the girl that said she was assaulted, there was no markings, no nothing on her. They got me for trespassing and for assault. Because of the pandemic, that took almost 2 years as a misdemeanor just to finally get cleared. They dropped everything because there was no evidence showing that I did any of this stuff. But because I was going through that stuff at the time, I ended up assaulting an actual girl. I'm not going to say I did it. I will admit that. I pushed a girl off her bicycle at the school because she was riding her bicycle with a friend on the walk path, not the bicycle path. And Marine Corps me, because I was already so like deprived of so much sleep, everything was triggering me, and I let that little silly thing trigger me to the point I pushed her off her bike because she tried to run me over. Not she really did, but in my mind, I thought she was trying to run me over with her bicycle. So I just pushed her off her bike. I wasn't like trying to punch her or anything like that. Doesn't make it right. But that's what was going through my mind. I'm like, if you can't obey the rules, why the fuck should I? Sorry for my language for those who care. Because of that situation and the apartment situation, Colorado State University suspended me for 1 year. Okay, fine. It tore me apart. I'm not going to lie. I was so depressed that entire year to the point I couldn't even go after my apartment complex that discriminated against me, knowing that I had PTSD. And they let these people continuously do it. And there was so much evidence, down to even police coming into my house saying they heard it too. Fort Collins police, by the way, said they heard it. Still didn't do anything because it wasn't loud enough for them to even consider it. What am I trying to say? Disturbing the peace. It's disturbing me, douchebags. So, with that being said, I did get a ticket. And I did tell the police I was suicidal because I did try to commit suicide the day prior to them coming to my apartment and serving me a ticket. Apparently, I didn't matter. Their only thing was they wanted to stick me in a hospital. I was like, forget that. I just slammed the door on their face because I was like, if they're not going to help me, then it just means they're just going to dismiss me and lock me up and medicate me, which is not what I needed. I know what I need these days. The other hardship. This is by choice. I loved it. I lived in an RV my first semester of school, which was in 2019 when I started CSU. I lived in a little van RV, Dodge Explorer. Loved it to death. But because it was really hard to park in Fort Collins, I had students dragging their bicycles across my vehicle, breaking windshields, destroying my property. People threatening me in the middle of the night, saying they're going to kill me. These are students, not that I believed it, but just trying to intimidate me. And it was a majority of the males. I've even had people stalk me when I was on the road trying to hit me, telling me to get a real home. My RV wasn't really up to par, and that's why I had to get into the first apartment complex where I ended up getting kicked out a year later. So that's where everything started to decline when I lost my RV. So now I've already lost 2 apartments by this point in 2020, and then I lost it again in 2022. My second apartment, I lived there for almost 2 years. It was my second year when we got a new property manager and they were taking over and doing development. They allowed this neighbor to move in, a Hispanic family, and I'm not racist to anybody at all, but I just want to make it well known. What they were also doing to me was beyond illegal. They were stalking me, chasing me in my house, screaming racial slurs at me. Their dog attacked me. They were stalking me. They were intimidating by parking in front of my home instead of their own. And I'm like, I've got so much video, pictures, and recordings of all this on top of the leasing office and like the million different freaking people that were working there. We couldn't even keep track of anymore of who actually worked this office for the past year. The property managers were not even trying to help me in any way, shape, or form when I requested if they can transfer me to another building. They didn't even give me a response to that. And just on and on and on. But they ended up giving me a 10-day letter saying I was a problem. And I really wasn't. I was actually scared living in my house because of these neighbors, and they protected them. When there was other neighbors who also had problems with these same people. Now, because of all this, well, let me backtrack a second. Last year of 2021, August, I messed up again because of my PTSD. I did everything in my power to keep my composure. It was so hard. For those who know Colorado, I was in Loveland at the VA clinic, just getting done with an appointment for my stomach because I was having vomiting spells from all the extreme stress I've been going through. So they're trying to manage that. Their conclusion was because I was smoking too much marijuana. Obviously, I cope with it because I'm terrified of medications after what's happened to me. That'll be another video someday. I'll go into that. But I use it. It literally helps me keep my mind clear so I don't irrationally act, whereas I can think before speaking or acting. I try to make a better choice. But with that being said, going back to the situation, I was in Loveland. I had not been on marijuana that day, which is okay because I know better not to smoke and drive. I knew better. I always waited till nighttime. And if I did have a panic attack, I figured out accordingly what I needed to do. But this woman tried to hit my car so many times. She came out of Loveland too. She was in a different road and we just kind of merged together into one road. She was in front of me. She tried to swerve into my car as my lane was ending. So I had to swerve into the lane she was originally in to avoid hitting her and causing a collision. I don't know what she was doing, but she was just not paying attention. I left it alone because I'm not going to let this person ruin my day, right? So we're still driving. We came to a railroad track. She swerves aggressively, like hard, to go so she could avoid the railroad track and to go around it, kind of like people do with speed bumps. That was not what I thought she was extremely doing. Sorry. I didn't think that's what she was doing. I thought maybe she had to go off to the side of the road for something like important, the way she was very aggressive with it. And when I saw that, I did slow down. But when she was almost like still on the side of the road, I went ahead and tried to pass her, and she tried to hit my car coming back onto the road. I backed off like almost 2 car lengths because it scared me so bad that I was like, okay, she's now intentionally not paying attention or recklessly driving. I left her alone. Meanwhile, as this is going on, because now I really want to call the cops, I couldn't. My cell phone's dead. And I'm in the back parts of Loveland. I'm not still quite familiar with. I still get kind of lost back there. So it's not like I could GPS my way back home, which is where I was going, back to Fort Collins. So I'm just letting her do this stuff. I'm just keeping my distance. I'm like letting her do her own thing. She almost rammed the back of the truck that was originally in front of me. And because she almost hit it, she slammed on her brakes so hard, I almost rammed into the back of her. Yeah. Well, we eventually came to a road that looked familiar. I ended up making a left, as she did too. And she started cussing at me and flipping me off through her window, and I just let her do her own thing. I didn't say or do anything to react to it. And then when it was our turn to finally turn left, she sat there. And I was thinking, okay, maybe she's waiting on traffic, but it was quite a few seconds that went by, like nobody was moving, so I honked at her just once. And she started screaming at me again. And then as soon as she had a time, when traffic finally did go through, she finally just sped through and went. I was like, okay, whatever, she's away from me now. It was like 2-3 miles later when we started coming up to Fort Collins. Well, I started coming up to Fort Collins. I didn't know where she was at anymore. I didn't see her no more. She was actually in the middle of turning into a Walmart that we have down south there. I passed her as she was making her turn. I was going into a different traffic light. She saw me intentionally, unsignaled her car, signaled it to go right, and chased me like as fast as she could and almost rammed into the back of my car, laying down her horn. And just, I could see her in the back rear view mirror screaming. And I just like right there, I just felt a lot of tension in my head, feeling all those little side effects of anxiety. I jumped out of my car, went to the vehicle in front of me, still avoiding her at this point, right? Didn't even say anything, letting her do her own thing. Borrowed a cell phone from another older lady just to call 911 on this person. So the original girl who was trying to cause all these incidents with me jumped out of her car and started screaming at me. I can vaguely remember what she said, but again, my PTSD started to kick in, and it's the flight or flight. Hang on a minute. It was the fight or flight response I was going through. I wasn't going to react this time because I know it's already caused me a lot of problems with the legal system already. And I want to go back to school so bad. And that's all I could think about is my dogs, me, and my protection. But as I'm on the phone with dispatch, she's yelling at the old lady too now, saying, "How dare you let her do this to you?" Or something like that. It doesn't mean that's exactly what she said, but she's just complaining. And then I'm on the ground crying because I'm like, I feel my inner passenger just wanting to leash out and just grab a hold of her. But I was like, I'm doing everything in my power to push it down, just stay on the phone with the cops. That's all I was trying to do. The old lady that I borrowed the phone from grabbed it out of my hand without even saying anything, got in her car and just drove off. I could see she was really scared, so I'm not completely mad at her, but I'm more mad at the person that was trying to create an actual incident to happen. I remember trying to take pictures of her car, or I'm sorry, not take pictures, as you were. I was trying to report back to dispatch her license plate number, what she was doing, everything. She tried to run me over again. Now that I'm not even in a car, she tried to run me over when I was on the outside of my car. She had now switched lanes because she was going to think she was going to go around me and get away. Once that woman took the phone out, our lights changed. Both women tried to take off along with nobody else helping me out. This is going on in the middle of the street. Everybody telling me to like hurry up and get back in my car, like yelling at me like I did something wrong. So I just got in my car. It was kind of like tunnel vision, but the rage was so intense after what just happened to me and nobody even protected me. I started driving, making this left-hand turn. It's a double left-hand turn. I saw her car trying to go back to the freaking same Walmart. All I could see is just the rage just kicked in, and I couldn't even control it. I floored it, screaming on top of my lungs as I'm driving my car into the back of hers. Just the anger and the pain I was feeling. I just wanted her to feel how terrified I was and whatever thing I went through. As soon as I hit her car, my airbags deployed. My car was destroyed. It was done. Her car's fine. Jumped out of my car. I saw her window was down. I jumped through the window and just started punching her. But I remembered what I was saying. I was pretty much saying, "How dare you do this to me? You want to kill me?" I'm like, "I'm going to kill you." I've never felt that much fear since the military. But I was so distraught. And yes, they caught everything on camera. All these people off to the side of the road taking pictures and cameras. I got to see myself later. You can see how terrified I was what this woman did to me. Judge, nobody gave a shit when it came to court. With that being said, I did go to jail. Spent 4 days in there in isolation because I was thrown up so hard from how hard she triggered me. I couldn't stop like gagging. So they assumed I had COVID and stuck me in that freaking isolation. I was even in more fear because now I'm like, nobody knows I'm in jail. No one's taking care of my dogs. Police are constantly telling me I have no rights. Fort Collins police again. And the police are pretty much just saying, well, you deserve this. It was not until the last day I was trying to get out, or at least make an attempt, the guard there was so nice to let me out and just breathe a little bit and get out of my head. But I'm already like in my head to begin with after that incident. I was on the floor in so much pain after that car accident. Nobody came and checked on me once. And I was literally having so many back problems and my neck, which is fused from another car accident back in 2013. And it hurt so bad to move, I couldn't stop throwing up. But yeah, they never sent a single person to check in on me. I'm not saying it's okay, but I know I'm stronger than that. But it's still not fair. Whatever. It already happened. That's what I'm going through. Even the court systems, when I got a public defender, both did not. I had two. I had to fire one, like I don't know how many times, and she still wasn't doing her job right. Haley Benson is her name. She threw me under the bus I don't know how many times in front of the judge. We're just going to leave it at that. That'll be, again, for another story. I'm just trying to get through some of these things for you guys to kind of give you a gist of why I'm doing these videos. Another one, once I finally got rid of her, Jake Goldstein was his name. That was my second public defender. Another one didn't even defend me to save his life. They never used the dispatch 911 call I made. They never got the witness that I borrowed the cell phone from. Those two things would have saved me from getting now this felony class 6 I have. They were going to give me a higher one along with probation for 3 years, which I'm already on, but they wanted me on UAs. They were going to get me for assault with a deadly weapon, which was the car, another type of assault, which was with me when I started punching her and stuff. Like, there's all these charges. Yes, I got lucky. Cool. But I still don't think I deserve a felony. Because how I see it, and I'm hoping a lot of people might see it that way, is I was trying to protect myself. Yes, I should have not ran my car in back to her, but when you're so overloaded with stimuli of someone trying to hurt you intentionally, for those who've never been through that, you have no idea how hard that is to hold back and not defend yourself. Because cops have not to this day ever defended me, down to even the legal system. So, I'm not sorry, but I'm sorry that I acted the way I did. I could have done better, but hey, I'm human. I'm doing my best. Okay, moving on. Let's see, I wrote some notes because I knew this first video is going to be kind of crazy, right? Let's talk about some positive things, right? I mean, everybody's going through shit. I mean, that's all we hear about these days. What am I doing for myself to making sure I stay in check, right? I'm in VA counseling every 1 to 2 weeks, just depending on how personally I'm doing. Right now, it's like 2 weeks right now because I just want to make sure, because of what I'm actually going through, this huge load, I don't have something new come up immediately. I used to do it every month, but I've been finding stuff kind of popping up a lot more. This is just individual counseling. It's helping me tremendously, even though it's not like they could do a lot resource-wise, but just to kind of vent and pop thoughts off of another person's, just sharing ideas, I should say, helps me a lot, because then I can reprioritize my thought process. And I like the argument. It's not so much argument, but the debate back and forth. Why his opinion's better than versus mine, or why I think I'm better. My opinion about something is more just than, say, somebody else's. I'm learning these things, right? We're not perfect. I do group counseling every Friday with Eric Dixon and the other guys. Oh my God. I look forward to this every single Friday. Even though we don't really talk about counseling per se problems, we just kind of BS a lot. But we try to bring up our own problems sometimes too, so we can learn from each other. But that group, oh my God, I love them to death. Even though I never met any of them in person except for Eric. I see Moral Counseling every Tuesday. It's supposed to be a group, but I feel like I'm the only one who shows up. But that's the thing with people. You have to show up in order for this to work. So these complaints of people saying, oh, I can't do this, or why is it unfair? Look at yourself first before you start saying something's unfair or you deserve this and that. I will never say I deserve all this stuff, but I deserve equal rights, respect, the things that a human being deserves. I could care less about people's money. That's never a condition for me. If I get some, it's probably going to be donated anyways, because I don't need money to survive. It's my wits and my experiences that get me through my day, and being humble. Oh, another thing. I did the Hearts and Horses. I haven't been able to do that because I'm not in Fort Collins anymore, but it was through the Loveland area there. I used to ride a horse every Thursday. It was a therapeutical way of kind of getting some stress off of me, but then also it's therapeutical for the horse as well. And just sharing those energies is amazing. Like, those guys are saviors for letting us do that. It's free for veterans. I highly suggest it. They do stuff for children. They're more targeted towards children or even just adults with disabilities. I mean, of all kinds. I highly suggest you talk to these guys. They're amazing. I'm sure there's other Hearts and Horses in other states. I'm not too sure, but from what I heard, there should be because they do stuff for veterans as well. When I was at CSU before I got kicked out, and I was kind of doing it after too a little bit, it's a women's bodybuilding club I started. I started it like a week, literally before we got shut down at school for the pandemic and whatnot. I was trying to get that stuff done fast. And I'm not gonna lie, that was really hard to juggle it being just new, still trying to build a team, and dealing with the pandemic, and still trying to keep everybody motivated. Because with my anxiety, oof, I could barely keep myself motivated. So, but having them was a joy. I got to take some girls to a competition that literally lit me up when I saw them. They won some awards. I'm not gonna put them down. They could have done better. I love you, but oh, it was so much fun getting to do a show for some girls for the college. And I do continue to do that if I get to go back to CSU. So cross our fingers. Because I want to start that club back up. It's not just bodybuilding, it's the camaraderie and the giving back and teaching people, not just through fitness, but how to be mentally sound, how to be spiritually adjusted, and how to overcome all these stressors throughout life, and how fitness kind of plays a part into that in our lives. So that's why I loved health and exercise science, what is my degree is going to be in, and then sports medicine is where I wanted to go with it. I wanted to use that along with my military experience, so I thought that'd be kind of fun. What really motivates me is really just helping others. Like, I mean, I'm pretty sure some of you have tried to help others and you feel really good about yourself, even though you don't expect anything in return. I'm a Nazi for helping people. Even when I'm like still like at my lowest, I just can't say no because I know how crappy it feels to be in the positions that like I am or other people are in. I cannot see any more pain from people. So if somebody needs a hug or I see somebody struggling, I'm like, I will do everything I can to help that person with that need. Um, I was always helping my neighbors, their families. I was always helping with the groceries and stuff like that. But that last apartment complex I was in, I helped a couple different neighbors out. Um, the personal trainer I saw, and he also did kickbox. I'm not going to say his name because he's going to be coming up in a lot of more videos. um, this is a complicating one. This is kind of a pro and con for this person. He helped me out. He's got a little girl. I love her like my own. So I do everything in my power to make sure she has a good role model since her mom's not around. I'm not going to say much more than that. But this friend of mine, he was Army. He was an Army vet. He's done his time. He was a medevac, or sorry, as you were, combat medic, as you were. So that's what he did. So I know he's seen some stuff, but his PTSD is so bad. It was draining the life out of me, practically. I was starting to have negative thoughts. I was lashing out again. I was bitter all the time. And I was yelling at my dogs again when I loved them unconditionally. And I never yelled at them ever. I was constantly loving, but these things were starting to change around me. But I tried to help him at the same time. And I started catching myself in my old ways. I stopped I was neglecting myself because I wanted to help this person so much more to see how I got help really worked. But he was so stuck in his ways. He was pretty much controlling me and what I should have done. I felt like I was tiptoeing around him and walking on eggshells, and that's not living. So, hence the reason why I'm in a hotel again. When I say again, I've had to leave him once before for 4 days because I needed my break, and so did my dogs. This time I'm gone for good. I can be broke as ever, and I'd be okay with not having to go back to a person that treats me like that. I love myself more than I love anybody else. And that took me a long time to get to that point, but I do now these days. Um, I'm trying to be strong for the little girl because I know what it feels like. I had a past where my dad was very, very abusive. My stepdad was verbally abusive. Um, Not a whole lot of attention from the parents because, I don't know, TV, they had their own stressors from being police officers, both of them. It was hard as a kid growing up a little bit. I felt very isolated some days, always alone. I was the only girl out of four brothers. One was biological, three were stepbrothers. So always, always, always living in a man's world, down to even the Marine Corps, down to even being in these shitty, shitty relationships where these men are supposed to love me, and yet all I do is love them back, and they just treat me like garbage in some way, shape, or form. So when I say I love myself, that took a long time to get there. And I have been single since then because of that. That's all I've kind of got to share of kind of where I'm at right now. I know it's kind of just like a little random here and there, but I just wanted to start my first video of like, this is what's kind of starting to happen. I'm going to kind of go over more later about my entire story, but I just wanted to give you a gist. This is what I'm going through, and it's a scary, scary battle. Even the strongest, they fear a lot, period. So, yeah. Well, please comment, say anything you want. Just let me know. I mean, I always love support, don't get me wrong, but I love hearing your side. Sorry for the puppies. Hearing your side of just what you think. What are your stories? I mean, share with me. I mean, this is going to be something I plan on doing further on down the road. Sorry for not my beautiness, but my situation is what it is. Well, stay tuned, and I look forward to doing more videos, and I hope I can really teach you guys a lot, and maybe you'll learn. Please subscribe. That way you can stay in touch with the subscribe. Let me know what your thoughts are, and I can't wait for our next video.